Unfortunately, it's a yearly tradition where WWE releases wrestlers right after WrestleMania, and today more than 20 people were released from the WWE. A lot of the names becoming public as SmackDown was airing here in the United States. So, first off, the most surprising one to me is Aleister Black, and also Zelina Vega with him. So, for those of you who don't know, those two are married, but also Aleister Black seemingly was involved, or supposed to be involved, in the main event WWE title feud between Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton, because not only did he have some interaction with Randy Orton during that feud, but he was shown in the background of a lot of segments, I shouldn't say a lot, a few segments involving Randy Orton in the lead up to WrestleMania. So I was thinking, okay, they might do something with Aleister Black and Randy Orton after WrestleMania. Some people said that originally the mystery caller that Randy Orton was talking to on the phone was supposed to be Aleister Black, but then TKO got involved and they inserted Pat McAfee. Which either way, it would have been bad, because if we're finding out that Randy Orton is listening to Aleister Black on the phone in the lead up to WrestleMania in a main event title match with Cody Rhodes, none of it makes sense. It would have fallen flat anyway. Because even though Randy Orton has had like weird connections in the past, like remember when he was part of the Wyatt family for a while? It's like, that would have been so strange. And Pat McAfee being inserted was terrible, but at least that got some attention. But anyway, Aleister Black and Zelina Vega. Aleister Black was in AEW in the House of Black with Brody King and Buddy Murphy, and that didn't go well either. I mean, it's like you can't catch a break with this guy, even though most people feel that he's talented and he has something to bring to the table, but I don't know, it just fell flat. And it's interesting that Killer Cross was, well, he wasn't really, I don't know, released. I don't know what happened. He was offered a contract. He said he didn't want to accept the offer from WWE until they could show him how they arrived at the number they were offering him. So then Killer Cross and his, I believe, wife, Scarlett, were released, or their contracts were not renewed. Either way, they're gone. And then sort of Aleister Black kind of filled in to Killer Cross's role, and now they're gone too. So, okay, I mean, I was never too enthralled with the whole Aleister Black thing anyway. I mean, people were saying, oh, he's going to be the next Undertaker and this and that and all this dark, spooky stuff. And it kind of fell flat on me. It's just maybe, well, part of it is because they didn't present him as this undefeated, like unbelievable force like the Undertaker was presented as throughout his career. He wasn't protected. So it's hard to take supernatural characters seriously when they're getting beaten. That's kind of what happened with The Fiend. Remember, he was beaten by Goldberg in like a couple of minutes, and it's like, how am I supposed to take this supernatural character seriously anymore? He's getting beat. And that brings us to the next group that got released, the entire Wyatt 6 group. So, Nikki Cross, Bo Dallas, or Uncle Howdy, Dexter Lumis, Erick Rowan, Joe Gacy. Look, when the Wyatt 6 debuted, I was not impressed. And I gotta say, when the Wyatt family debuted on the main roster many, many years ago, Luke Harper and Erick Rowan and Bray Wyatt, I actually was like, okay, that's pretty cool. You know, they were doing some good stuff in developmental, and then when they were brought up to the main roster, it was like, okay, this is kind of an interesting thing. It's different, and they were very, very popular, and credit to the guys in that group. You know, you can't really compare the current, they're the Wyatt 6. They're non-existent anymore because they're all gone. But you can't really compare them to the Wyatt family, because the Wyatt family was like, Luke Harper, Erick Rowan, Bray Wyatt were pretty pretty good in their roles and in the ring. And even if you throw in Braun Strowman in there, he became much better than when he started. He was very green, but boy, he became a real asset to the WWE for a while. But not surprising, when the Wyatt Six debuted and they had this like long segment where they like destroyed or killed Chad Gable, I was like, not too thrilled about any of it. Even when they did the weird interview thing with Bo Dallas and Uncle Howdy, I was like, well, that's pretty good for Bo Dallas. And actually, we probably would be better off seeing Bo Dallas just be Bo Dallas instead of Uncle Howdy. But, you know, it just never came together. It was stop-start with them for a while. Now they're all gone. I don't think any of them are surprised, to be honest. And it's a shame. It's a shame. But, you know, wrestling's a brutal business. It's like, what have you done for me lately? And that brings us to Kairi Sane. Not really surprised about that one. She actually left WWE for a while. She's a former NXT Women's Champion. Then she comes back, I believe, at a show in Saudi Arabia. And she was aligned with Damage Control when Io Sky was in it and Asuka was in it. And she's pretty much been tied to those two ever since. And some people have said that maybe she was sort of, I don't want to say responsible, but I think she was involved in some matches where other female wrestlers got injured. There was that. And I don't know. It just, she never really took off in any meaningful way. Kind of overshadowed by Asuka and obviously Io Sky, who became one of the biggest stars that WWE has. But what are you going to do? You know, it's like they gave her the opportunity. But what did she really do with it? And some people might say she was never really given much of a chance. I don't know. It's like you got to make the most of whatever time they give you. And she was in matches where, you know, she could have blown us all away, like Io Sky did. You know, anytime Io Sky was given time on the program, whether it's in a segment or in a match, and this goes back years, you know, she gave us something that made us look at her like, oh, wow, okay, she's got something. I just remember seeing a match with Becky Lynch and Io Sky on Raw. This was before Io Sky like took off and became one of the greatest things in WWE. And she really impressed me there. And it's like, you got to impress people every time you're out there. And you got to find a way to do it. But I don't know. Kairi Sane, she's gone. This is her second run in the WWE. It's over now. And that brings us to Motor City Machine Guns. The fact that those two guys were signed to the WWE so late in their careers, that was surprising to me. But also, I thought it was great because it's like, good. You know, these guys have been doing this for so long. And they've wrestled at a high level in so many different places. I remember seeing them like 20 years ago in TNA. And it's crazy that they were here. They actually won the tag titles. And then like they're barely used. They had like a feud with DIY, Johnny Gargano, and Tommaso Ciampa, who is in AEW now. Much better off there. Certain people are just much better off not in WWE. They're not going to get opportunities. And, you know, that's probably Kairi Sane. That's probably Aleister Black. That's definitely the Wyatt Six. And definitely the Motor City Machine Guns. But luckily they got to the WWE. They won some titles. Or at least once they won the tag titles. And then now their time has come to an end. I don't think they're surprised either. I'm sure they're just happy to have that opportunity so late in their careers. Apollo Crews is another one released. When Apollo Crews came from the independents, his name was Uhaa Nation. And I was actually like, okay, this guy could be something big because he's a big, strong, powerful guy who can move like a cruiserweight. And it's like, wow, you know, you could do a lot with this guy. But what ended up happening is a whole lot of nothing for a lot of years. And again, it's sort of like, did he really show us anything super special? Was he given the opportunity? I mean, he had his chances over the years. For example, I think his biggest opportunity came when he had that feud with Big E, where they had a match at WrestleMania, like a Nigerian drum match, and Apollo Crews was speaking with an accent, and he won that match. He beat Big E with interference from a gigantic guy named Commander Aziz. So they were doing something with him, but at the end of the day, it's just like, he never took off either. It's just sort of like, just another guy. And it doesn't help that WWE, for most of his run, has been featuring him on like main event and just at the bottom of the card, or like getting beat up in a backstage segment. It's just like, you're presenting him as somebody that we shouldn't really care about, and then people don't care about him, and then now he gets released. But he had a long run for somebody who really never had any meaningful anything. And that's, again, not a knock against him. It's just a combination of things. It's like, was he given the right opportunities? Was he effective in the time that he was given? I don't know. It's just didn't work. Santos Escobar released. That's a surprising one, because you know who Santos Escobar reminds me of? Andrade. Because it's like, these guys have value. They can contribute something to whatever company hires them. But for some reason, they just end up floundering wherever they go. They just sort of just hang out in the mid-card, and it's just like, they just never reach that next level where, people start looking at them like, okay, this guy's going to be a big star. I mean, there was a time when Andrade faced, I think it was Johnny Gargano, and they had some kind of amazing match that everybody loved, and then Andrade was in the Royal Rumble right after that. I think it was like the day after, and people were so excited about him, and Zelina Vega, I think, was managing him at that time. And that was probably Andrade's peak. But I mean, Andrade's back in AEW, and maybe he could do something special. But you notice I haven't said anything about Santos Escobar. I was just talking about Andrade, because it's the same thing. It's like, anytime Santos Escobar was on the mic or in the ring, I was like, all right, this guy can do something, but, he's not doing anything groundbreaking. Again, it's like, he had his group. I mean, it was like LWO and Legado del Fantasma. But, again, it's just, nothing is catching fire. He's sort of just there. It's another person who's just there. Now, they released some other people that I'm not incredibly familiar with. Oh, actually, I know who Andre Chase is. Chase University was a very popular group in NXT. And Andre Chase was at the head of that. He was prominently featured. I always kind of looked at him like, he doesn't look like your traditional pro wrestler. He looks like a drama student who's playing a role playing a role on the show. But hey, it's like, he had a different look, and I think I may have seen him have like one good match, but he's probably just happy with his run. I'm sure he probably never expected to make it to the WWE, and he did. Well, he made it to NXT. I guess that counts. And, he did get to have a nice run with Chase University. So, I mean, I guess that's good. Probably Thea Hale is going to wind up being the most successful person that was ever in that group. But Andre Chase is gone. Then you have some people from that LFG show, remember, with The Undertaker? Tyra Mae Steele, who I believe won the competition on the show. She is an Olympic gold medalist amateur wrestler, and she's gone. And you know what? I was thinking, what's going to happen to her? Because Kendall Gray, who also has an amateur wrestling background, is catching fire in NXT. And a lot of people think Kendall Gray might be the future of women's wrestling. Like, they think she's that amazing already. Like, she could wind up being the best women's wrestler in the company at some point. She's very young. Again, amateur wrestling background. She's not an Olympic gold medalist like Tyra Mae Steele, but I was wondering, like, she kind of took Tyra Mae Steele's thunder away, because the whole amateur wrestling thing, that was Tyra Mae Steele's thing. And once Kendall Gray has it, and Kendall Gray is popular, and Kendall Gray has that traditional look that they're going for, like, you put Kendall Gray on the cover of a magazine or on a poster, and people are going to pay attention, because she has that traditional, beautiful look that they like, and that's just the way it is, you know? It's a superficial, shallow business. So Kendall Gray wins out, and Tyra Mae Steele is gone. Also, Sirena Linton from that show, she had a great look, but I mean, I don't really have much else to say about her. But again, her look caught my attention, but obviously that's not enough, and now she's gone. Then there's some other names here that, again, not incredibly familiar. Oh, actually, there's people I'm not familiar with, but before we get there, Zoey Stark. Somebody who, I don't know if she got injured multiple times doing, I think, a move that some people would say, maybe you shouldn't be doing that move. It's like, so she got injured badly in one of her matches, and she's been out. I think she tore her MCL and ACL, and supposedly she was cleared for action recently, but now she gets released. I mean, Zoey Stark was an interesting character. She was part of that group with Sonya Deville and Shayna Baszler, who are no longer with the WWE either. She was in that group, and that group was just like, I'm sure they were all like, oh, give us a chance, we'll do something, and then they just nothing, you know. Nothing happened with that group, and nothing ever happened with Zoey. I mean, it's just, she got injured, and just bad luck all around. I'm sure she could have done something if she hadn't gotten injured. I mean, like, injuries play a role in all this. It's like, you're off TV, people forget about you. You never really caught their attention anyway, and then now you're out. So it's a shame, you know, coming back from a serious injury and then just gone like that. I mean, but you have to realize, like, anybody who's entering this business, they know the deal. Everybody knows what they're getting into. It's a shame when these things happen, though. Alba Fyre. Now, Alba Fyre, she was once tag team champions with Isla Dawn. And Isla Dawn got released a while ago. So if I was Alba Fyre, I would be like, well, first of all, if they didn't release me, I'm going to try as hard as I can with whatever they give me. And also, I'm going to save every penny that they give me, because I don't know when I'm going to be gone. So, yeah, she was part of Chelsea Green's group with Piper Niven. They were like secret service agents for Chelsea Green, which is an interesting gimmick. And I'm kind of like surprised she's gone, because I don't think Chelsea Green has anyone in her corner now, because Piper Niven, I believe, has been injured for a very long time, seriously injured. She might be done, actually, with wrestling. I don't know yet. We haven't heard about her. But now Alba Fyre's gone, so now there's nobody in Chelsea Green's corner, which is a shame, because Chelsea Green is one of the biggest stars in the women's division. And then there are a bunch of names that I'm not familiar with. Luca Crusifino, Malik Blade, Trill London, Chris Island, Tyriek Igwe, I don't know who that is, Tyson DuPont. Yeah, I'm not sure. There's some names here that, Dante Chen. Obviously, they never got out of the blocks. So, anyway, WWE releases. Also, on SmackDown today, nothing really special happened. Tiffany Stratton captures the U.S. title. And that's a shame for Julia, because Julia really has not been able to show everything she's capable of on the main roster. It's just been stop-start with her, and never really showing much. And all of these people have been brought up, and they got to make room for all these people, and that's why they got to release all these people that they're not using. You know, you got to make room for Fatal Influence, who debuted on SmackDown. You got to make room for Obafemi and Blake Monroe, who's coming, and Ricky Saints, who's coming, and other people who, so Ruka on Raw, she's up there now. So you got to let these people go to make room. And every year this is going to happen, probably multiple times a year. It's a shame. It's a shame. And I'm sure some of these people will wind up in TNA, maybe a couple of them in AEW. You know, Motor City Machine Guns in AEW, that would be interesting. Or TNA, obviously they have a whole history in TNA, they could do that. But yeah, I mean, do I think any of these people on this list are going to be like a world champion somewhere? I would be shocked. World champion in a TNA, or a world champion in a AEW at this point? I'm looking at this list and to be honest, I don't think so. I mean, I think we haven't really seen what Alba Fyre is truly capable of, or somebody like Zoey Stark. We don't really know because they haven't shown us much. Kairi Sane, I mean, has had a pretty impressive career in Japan, and she had a good run in NXT her first time out. But, you know, that there's a reason why people like this list of names gets released. I mean, it's like people don't see a huge future in the WWE for them. But maybe they could have a huge future somewhere else.